The Intergalactic Academy buzzed with excitement as students from various species filled the grand lecture hall. Banners of vibrant colors hung from the ceiling, representing different cultures and worlds. The air hummed with anticipation, a blend of curious whispers and alien laughter echoing around the room. At the front stood Professor Vexa, a Xyloxian, known for her exceptional teaching skills and impressive knowledge of interspecies diplomacy. Today was the first day of class for Jax, a human from a Deathworld. As he entered the lecture hall, the room fell silent. Jax could feel the weight of the stares directed at him. Most of his classmates regarded him with a mix of curiosity and disdain. They considered humans to be primitive, a species that had only recently made their mark on the intergalactic stage. Jax tried to ignore the glances, focusing instead on the lecture that was about to begin. Professor Vexa started by discussing the principles of peace and cooperation between species. She spoke passionately, outlining the importance of understanding and empathy in intergalactic relations. As the lecture continued, Jax began to feel the boredom seep into his mind. He noticed a few students snickering, clearly unconvinced by the professor's words. They exchanged glances filled with mockery, whispering about his primitive origins. Anger bubbled inside him. He raised his hand, and Professor Vexa acknowledged him. "Yes, Jax. I have a different perspective," Jax said, his voice steady despite the nerves that danced in his stomach. "Survival is not just about understanding each other. It's also about knowing your own strengths. In my world, physical capability is as vital as diplomacy." The classroom buzzed with murmurs. Some students snickered, while others appeared genuinely interested. Professor Vexa narrowed her eyes, clearly displeased. "That may be true for your world, but here we prioritize understanding and cooperation. Violence is not the answer." Jax felt a rush of defiance. "With all due respect, Professor, how can we truly understand each other without knowing what we're capable of? I propose a practical demonstration. Let's turn this lecture into a combat training session." Gasps filled the room. The students exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of how to respond. Professor Vexa looked taken aback, struggling to regain control. "That's quite enough, Jax. This is not how we conduct our classes." But Jax pressed on. "I challenge anyone brave enough to face me. Let's see how understanding strength can lead to true cooperation." The tension in the air thickened. Some students stepped forward, excitement dancing in their eyes, while others cowered back, afraid of the prospect of combat. Professor Vex's eyes widened in horror as she realized Jax's challenge had divided the class. "Jax, this isn't a game," she exclaimed, but he could see the glimmer of intrigue in her eyes. "Maybe it should be," he replied, determination burning in his chest. "In a galaxy filled with threats, knowing your strength is essential." As Jax prepared to demonstrate, the atmosphere crackled with suspense. Would his classmates accept the challenge, or would they let fear dictate their choices? He stood ready, confident in his abilities, eager to show them what it meant to be strong. The classroom buzzed with anxiety and anticipation as Jax stood at the center, challenging his classmates. Some students stepped forward with eager expressions, while others huddled together, whispering in fear. Jax's heart raced. He had made his point, but now he needed to show them what he was truly capable of. Professor Vexa, clearly flustered, paced in front of the class. "This is not how we conduct our education. Combat is not the solution." But her voice lacked conviction. Jax sensed her hesitation. Deep down, she recognized the importance of understanding one's strengths. As the silence lingered, a brave Krylon, known for her agility and speed, stepped forward. She was a shimmering, feathered alien with bright blue skin and a confident grin. "I'll take you on, human. Let's see what you can do." The class erupted in a mix of cheers and gasps. Jax couldn't help but smile. He had anticipated someone would accept his challenge. He nodded at Krylon, acknowledging her courage. "Let's keep it friendly. No hard feelings, right?" "Just don't get too cocky," she replied, smirking. I've trained for this. The students moved to create an open space in the classroom, transforming the lecture area into an impromptu training ring. Jax felt the eyes of his classmates on him, some filled with excitement, others with apprehension. Professor Vexus stood at the edge, her expression a mix of horror and fascination. "Remember, this is about understanding, not violence," she cautioned. "Focus on control." As the two fighters squared off, Jax could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He took a deep breath, recalling the countless training sessions he had endured on his Deathworld, where survival relied on quick thinking and physical prowess. Krylon launched forward, her movements swift and graceful. Jax barely had time to react as she aimed a series of rapid strikes at him. He sidestepped her first attack, feeling the air rush past him as her fist whizzed by. Jax could see the focus in her eyes, the determination to prove herself against the primitive human. He countered with a feint, moving to the left while his body shifted to strike with a quick jab to her midsection. Krylon narrowly dodged, her agility astonishing. The students gasped, excitement filling the air. This was no longer just a classroom exercise. It was a thrilling display of skill and determination. As the match continued, Jax felt a surge of respect for his opponent. She was not only fast but intelligent, adapting her strategy as she went. He realized that he needed to showcase not just strength, but also strategy. With a sudden move, Jax executed a low sweep, knocking Krylon off balance. She stumbled but quickly regained her footing, grinning widely. "Not bad for a human," she shouted, her eyes sparkling with challenge. Jax laughed, the tension easing slightly. Just getting started. As the match progressed, students began to cheer, their fear dissolving into excitement. For the first time, Jax could see them appreciating his skills rather than mocking him. They began to understand that strength and agility could coexist with intelligence and strategy. Professor Vexa watched in disbelief, torn between her duty to maintain decorum and the excitement building in her class. She knew this was not what she intended for the lecture, but there was something undeniably powerful about the display unfolding before her. The students were engaged, learning in a way she had never anticipated. Suddenly, Krylon launched a series of complex moves, a combination of strikes and spins that pushed Jax to his limits. He was impressed by her skill and determination. It was clear that she had trained hard for this, and he needed to respond with equal vigor. As Jax prepared for his next move, he realized this was more than just a sparring match. It was an opportunity to break down barriers, to show these alien students that humans were not as primitive as they believed. He had the chance to earn their respect, to demonstrate that strength came in many forms. The energy in the room was electric, a mixture of fear, excitement, and anticipation. As the match continued, Jax knew he had to show them the true spirit of humanity, a spirit defined by resilience, creativity, and an unwavering will to succeed. The classroom buzzed with excitement as Jax and Krylon continued their sparring match. The cheers of their classmates echoed off the walls, transforming the once solemn lecture hall into a lively arena. Every strike and dodge captivated the audience, and Jax felt a sense of exhilaration he hadn't experienced in a long time. This was more than just a competition. It was a chance to bridge the gap between two worlds. Jax lunged forward, feigning a punch to the left while swiftly changing direction to strike Krylon's right side. She was quick to react, blocking his punch with her forearm and countering with a swift kick aimed at his knee. Jax saw the movement coming and jumped back just in time. The students gasped, their faces a mix of fear and admiration. "Nice try," he called out, grinning. "But I've faced worse than that." Krylon's determination ignited even more, and she came at him with renewed intensity. She executed a spinning kick, aiming to catch him off guard. Jax ducked, rolling on the ground to regain his stance. The agility he had honed on his Deathworld made him agile and adaptable, essential traits for a fight. He felt the thrill of the challenge coursing through him. As the match continued, Jax noticed the shift in the atmosphere around him. Students who had once viewed him with skepticism were now cheering for him. They began to understand that he wasn't just a primitive being with primitive weapons. He was a formidable opponent who could hold his own against an agile alien like Krylon. "Come on, Jax. Show her what humans are made of," shouted Averic, a lanky alien with tentacles for arms. His enthusiasm was infectious, and soon others joined in, their cheers echoing through the room. Professor Vexa, still on the sidelines, watched in disbelief as the students rallied behind Jax. She could see the change in their attitudes. The line between human and alien was beginning to blur, replaced by respect and camaraderie. With a newfound determination, Jax decided to take the match to the next level. He knew he had to demonstrate more than just physical prowess. He needed to show them the tactical side of combat, the importance of strategy. He paused, giving Krylon a moment to catch her breath. "How about we turn this into a teaching moment?" he suggested, a playful spark in his eye. "Let's show them what teamwork looks like." Krylon raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" Jax explained his plan. "Let's take turns sparring and comment on each other's techniques. We can show them our strengths and weaknesses, and how we can learn from each other." Krylon nodded, appreciating the idea. "All right, let's do it." The students fell silent, eager to see how this would unfold. They knew they were about to witness something extraordinary. Jax and Krylon began to exchange techniques, with Jax demonstrating a combination of footwork and grappling moves while Krylon showcased her impressive speed and agility. As they traded roles, Jax pointed out the advantages of agility and precision. "See how I leverage my weight when I roll," he said, demonstrating how he moved from a low position to regain balance. "It helps me stay on my feet and avoid being pinned." Krylon nodded, her eyes sparkling with interest. "And I can use my speed to create distance when I need to regroup. But sometimes I need to close the gap to land a hit." She executed a swift series of strikes, her movements a blur. The students watched with rapt attention. They began to see the beauty in the combat, the way different styles complemented each other. The fear and tension from earlier had transformed into admiration and enthusiasm. Professor Vexa, standing at the edge of the crowd, felt a swell of pride. The lesson had taken an unexpected turn, but she realized it was exactly what her students needed. They were learning not just about combat, but about collaboration, understanding, and the value of diverse perspectives. As the match continued, it became clear that Jax and Krylon were not just showcasing their physical skills. They were building a bridge between their cultures. The barriers that once divided them began to crumble, replaced by a shared respect for each other's abilities. Jax glanced at his classmates, who were now fully engaged, cheering for both him and Krylon. He knew that he was no longer just a human in a room full of aliens. He was a part of something greater, a connection that transcended their differences. With each exchange, Jax felt the weight of expectation lift. He had not only shown his classmates his strength, but had also opened the door to understanding and cooperation. This match was more than just a display of skill. It was a turning point for everyone in the room. As the match drew to a close, the atmosphere in the lecture hall was electric. Jax and Krylon stood facing each other, panting but exhilarated. The cheers and applause from their classmates filled the air, creating a sense of unity and excitement that had never existed before. Jax felt a rush of adrenaline and pride. He had not only proven himself, but had also managed to connect with his peers on a deeper level. "Great job," Krylon said, extending her hand. Jax took it, and they shared a smile of mutual respect. "Thanks. You were amazing," Jax replied, his heart still racing. "I've never had a sparring partner like you." The applause began to fade as Professor Vexa stepped forward, a serious expression on her face. "While I appreciate the enthusiasm and the lesson in teamwork," she began, "I must remind everyone that combat is not a game. It requires discipline and respect." Jax nodded, understanding her concerns. He respected her role as a teacher and wanted to show her that their sparring was more than just a display of power. It was about understanding and learning from one another. "Professor," he said, addressing her directly, "I know this might seem reckless, but I believe we all learned something valuable today. It's not just about fighting. It's about strategy, adaptability, and respect for each other's abilities." The students nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the excitement of the lesson they had just experienced. Vexa considered his words carefully. "I see your point, Jax, but we must ensure that this enthusiasm does not lead to recklessness. Combat training is serious and should be approached with caution." "I understand," Jax replied, "but maybe we can incorporate some of these lessons into our future classes. We could have structured combat training where we can all learn from each other in a safe environment." Krylon chimed in. "That's a great idea. We could demonstrate techniques and explain strategies. It would help everyone, including us." The room buzzed with excitement as students began to express their interest in the idea. "Yes," shouted Tereska, a bright-eyed alien with sharp features. "I want to learn how to fight like Jax." The enthusiasm was contagious, and soon many students were clamoring for a chance to learn more. Jax felt a swell of pride at the thought of leading a class, sharing his knowledge with others, and breaking down barriers that had previously divided them. Professor Vexa surveyed the room, her stern expression softening. "If this is what you all want, I will support it. However, we will need to establish guidelines to ensure safety and respect." As the discussion continued, Jax felt a sense of belonging. He had gone from being the odd one out to being a leader, someone his classmates looked up to. It was a transformation he had never anticipated. Later, as the class broke up, Jax found himself surrounded by a group of excited students discussing potential training ideas. They were enthusiastic and eager to start learning. "What do you think we should focus on first?" asked Breck, a tall alien with bright orange skin. Jax smiled, remembering the first lesson he had learned from his father. "Let's start with the basics. We'll need to work on stances and footwork first. If we can master those, everything else will follow." As they chatted and planned, Jax noticed Krylon observing from a distance, a thoughtful expression on her face. He approached her, curious. "Hey, what's on your mind?" "I was just thinking," she said, "about how different our worlds are and how much we can learn from each other. You humans have a different perspective on combat that I'd never considered before. It's refreshing." Jax nodded, appreciating her insight. "Yeah, and I think we all have strengths to share. This could be the beginning of something really special." Krylon smiled, her eyes shining with determination. "Let's make sure it is. We'll show them that collaboration is stronger than competition." With that shared goal in mind, they began to plan out their first class, brainstorming techniques and exercises that could be both effective and fun. As the weeks passed, Jax and his classmates began their new training sessions. The once quiet classroom turned into a lively training ground where humans and aliens learned side by side, each bringing their unique strengths to the table. Jax found joy in teaching, sharing techniques he had learned on his Deathworld, while also picking up valuable insights from his classmates. The connection between them grew stronger, and the barriers that once divided them were slowly disappearing. Meanwhile, Professor Vexa watched with a mixture of pride and amazement. She had been apprehensive at first, but she could see that Jax's presence was changing the classroom dynamic for the better. He had brought them together in ways she had never imagined. Little did they know, the lessons they were learning would extend far beyond the classroom. In a universe filled with uncertainties and dangers, their newfound camaraderie would soon be put to the test in ways they could never anticipate. The weeks of training had transformed the classroom into a vibrant space, filled with laughter, shouts, and the clanging of makeshift training weapons. Students from all species were learning to understand each other, breaking down cultural barriers with every lesson. Jax felt a sense of pride as he watched his classmates spar, encouraging one another and laughing off minor mishaps. One afternoon, As the students practiced their footwork, Professor Vexa entered the room, her face serious. "Class, I need your attention," she announced, instantly quieting the excited chatter. The students turned their heads, curiosity mixed with concern. Vexa continued, "I have just received an important communication from the Galactic Council. They are organizing a series of interspecies competitions to promote unity among different worlds, and they want our class to participate." The news electrified the room. Jax's heart raced at the thought of representing their diverse group in a competition. "What kind of competitions?" he asked, his voice full of excitement. Vexa nodded. "There will be events focused on various skills, including combat techniques, strategy games, and teamwork challenges. It is a chance to showcase what we have learned and demonstrate the strength of our collaboration." Krylon's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We can show them that we can fight together, no matter our differences." "Yes," shouted Tereska, jumping up. "We have to prepare." As discussions erupted among the students, Jax felt a mixture of enthusiasm and apprehension. Competing against other classes meant they would be tested, but it also meant that they had to put their training to the ultimate test. Professor Vexa clapped her hands to regain everyone's attention. "While this is an exciting opportunity, I must stress the importance of preparation. We need to train as a cohesive unit, and that requires dedication and teamwork." Jax stepped forward. "I think we should set up a training schedule. We can work on specific skills each day and practice together to build our teamwork." The class erupted with agreement, and they quickly organized a plan. Each day would focus on a different aspect of their training, from combat techniques to strategic planning. The next few weeks flew by, filled with hard work and determination. Each class became more than just a training session. It became a chance for bonding. Students learned to trust each other, both in combat and in friendship. They laughed at their mistakes and celebrated their victories, no matter how small. Jax and Krylon found themselves forming a close partnership, developing a deep mutual respect. They would often stay late after class, practicing their techniques and discussing strategies. Krylon marveled at how Jax's instincts and creativity gave him an edge in combat. Meanwhile, Jax admired Krylon's precision and her ability to analyze situations quickly. One afternoon, as they took a break, Krylon said, "You know, Jax, I never expected to learn so much from a human. I've always viewed combat as just a means to an end, but you've shown me how much more there is to it." Jax smiled, grateful for her words. "I feel the same way. I've learned so much about strategy from you and the others. This isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding each other." As the competition day approached, excitement bubbled in the air. Students spoke eagerly about the challenges they would face and the chance to showcase their newfound skills. However, Jax could sense an underlying tension among some of the students. On the morning of the competition, the class gathered, nerves palpable in the air. Professor Vexa addressed them, her voice steady. "Remember, this is not just about winning. It is about representing our class and what we have accomplished together. Support one another, and regardless of the outcome, you should be proud of what you've built." Jax felt a surge of determination. This was their moment to show the galaxy what they could achieve together. As they arrived at the grand arena, Jax was in awe. The venue was massive, filled with representatives from different planets, each showcasing their unique skills and abilities. The atmosphere was charged with energy and anticipation. Jax's heart raced as he looked around, the reality of the competition settling in. It wasn't just a test of their skills. It was a chance to make a statement about unity and cooperation. The first event was about to begin. Jax and his classmates lined up, ready to demonstrate everything they had trained for. As they stood together, he could feel the bond they had formed over the past few weeks. This was more than just a competition. It was a testament to their hard work and determination. With a final nod to each other, they prepared to step onto the battlefield, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The grand arena buzzed with excitement as Jax and his classmates stood in their designated area, ready for their first challenge. Bright lights shone down, illuminating the massive crowd filled with spectators from various planets. Jax's heart raced as he glanced at the colorful banners representing different species, each one a reminder of the diversity they were showcasing. The announcer's voice boomed over the loudspeakers, introducing the event. Welcome to the Intergalactic Unity Games. Our first challenge is the Team Combat Relay. Each team must navigate a series of obstacles while engaging in simulated combat. Only teamwork and strategy will lead to victory. Jax turned to his classmates, who exchanged nervous glances. Professor Vexa stepped forward, her expression calm yet encouraging. Remember what we've practiced. Communication and teamwork are key. Focus on supporting each other, and we will succeed together. The students nodded, their resolve strengthening. They quickly discussed their roles. Jax would lead the first segment, Krylon would follow with her keen analysis, and the others would back them up. As the starting signal blared, Jax sprinted forward, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The first obstacle was a series of towering walls, each designed to challenge their agility and speed. Jax leaped over the first wall, quickly scanning the area for any opponents. To his right, a team of aliens with armored exosuits advanced, their movements precise and calculated. Jax felt a rush of determination as he remembered the countless hours of training. He shouted, "Over here. We need to work together." His classmates quickly joined him, forming a protective circle. They positioned themselves to fend off incoming opponents while helping each other scale the walls. Krylon's strategy paid off as she called out directions, guiding everyone to the best paths. As they approached the next obstacle, a field filled with low barriers, Jax spotted an enemy team trying to flank them. He quickly devised a plan. We can't let them surround us. Everyone, hold your ground, and let's push them back. The students moved in unison, their hearts pounding as they faced the opponents. Jax swung his training weapon, using the techniques they had practiced. The clash of the weapons echoed throughout the arena, and Jax felt a surge of pride as he fought alongside his classmates. "Look out!" Krylon shouted, her eyes wide as she spotted an opponent sneaking behind Jax. Without hesitation, she jumped in front of him, deflecting an attack aimed at his back. The moment solidified their bond further. This was not just about fighting. It was about protecting each other. After a tense exchange, their teamwork began to pay off. They pushed the other team back, securing their position. Encouraged, Jax felt more confident and energized. "We can do this. Let's keep moving." The next obstacle was a simulated minefield. It required not only agility, but also careful communication to avoid triggering any traps. Jax took charge once again, calling out instructions as they navigated the field. "Step left. Now right. Slow down," he directed, watching carefully for any signs of danger. Each successful step built their confidence, and they began to feel the thrill of victory surging through them. As they reached the end of the minefield, cheers erupted from the crowd. Their classmates exchanged smiles, the adrenaline fueling their excitement. But they knew the challenge was far from over. The final part of the relay featured a series of simulated combat scenarios where they would face opponents in various settings, testing everything they had learned. Jax felt a mix of excitement and anxiety, knowing that the hardest part was yet to come. As they prepared for the final round, Jax gathered everyone together for a quick huddle. "No matter what happens, remember we're in this together. Let's show them what we've got." With a renewed sense of determination, they stepped forward, ready to face their opponents once more. The roar of the crowd faded into the background as they focused on their goal, to demonstrate their unity and strength. As the next signal blared, Jax led his classmates into the fray, a fierce determination burning in his chest. They were ready for whatever lay ahead, and together, they would prove that they were more than just a group of diverse students. They were a unified team capable of greatness.